This first 6 weeks unit will be laying the foundation for continued success in English language arts by exploring the writing process and write traits. Before we talk about the unit plan in depth, you need to understand that course design is 98% out of my hands. What I teach and when I teach it are decided by administration and the secondary curriculum development specialist in central office. Furthermore, the only technology that I have access to is my laptop and my data projector. Even the computer labs are off limits as they are used solely for teaching computer skills. And so, this is my challenge: to engage the kids with what I've got. This means how I teach is completely up to me. We begin with reviewing the writing process. This is very important because writing is a process. Furthermore, 7th grade writing is a tested area in the state of Texas. The process begins with pre-writing, followed by drafting, revising, editing, and finally publishing. For my class, publishing usually means that the work will be turned in for a grade, but it often means that it will be shared with classmates. We follow this process regardless of the writing assignment, including for multimedia presentations. And just as writing involves 5 sequential steps, effective writing employs certain traits. We call these the write traits. The write traits are comprised of 6 specific entities, and they are ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. The unit foundation, as with all Texas instruction, must be focused around the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills Standards, also known as the TEKS. As you'll notice, weeks 1 through 3 follows TEKS 7.14 and 7.14b. In general, these TEKS require students to use elements of the writing process to compose text. There's no mention of write traits, but they've been added. In addition to the 7.14 TEKS, in week 4 we'll also be following 7.15 and 7.17. 7.15 requires students to write literary text to express their ideas and feelings about real or imagined people, events, and ideas. 7.17 is about students writing expository and procedural or work-related text to communicate ideas and information to specific audiences for specific purposes. This illustrates that students are expected to make progress in their written assignments and that they will gradually become more in-depth as well as more creative as the school year progresses. In my class, we write to be read for student reflection, for student grade, and for student preparation regarding state testing. We start or begin by asking essential questions like, what does language say about us? What does the language I use say about me? And the ever popular, why write? This lesson serves many purposes. It gets the kids thinking, it shows them that this is a safe environment in which to write, and it helps me understand their writing prowess, basically as an informal formative assessment tool. Lesson sample. Teacher. Show students various signage, some procedures and instructions, poems, song lyrics, and let them listen to famous speeches, such as FDR's speech to Congress. Ask them what all these have in common. Answer, they were written, and they were written for a purpose and written for a particular audience. Then ask students why they write. Have them discuss which of their reasons are easier, harder, more important, less important, etc. Students, write nonstop for 10 minutes about why you write. You may also consider where and how you use the written language. Early on, I want to stress the registers or styles of language. This is actually a large lesson and may require some time to complete it. Role-playing also drives home this lesson. The intent of this lesson is to make students aware of their word choices. Lesson sample. Teacher. Set up lessons by disorienting students. This can be done by speaking in a register that's not appropriate for the classroom. This not only gets their attention, but it also illustrates the point of language and its relevance or appropriateness in a specific setting. Discuss with students why the register you used was wrong. Ask them to reflect on the language they use with friends versus the language they use with authority figures or on classroom assignments. At the end of the lesson, explain that moving just one level may be appropriate or may be acceptable, while moving more than one level violates all the others. Students, role play where one student uses one register to communicate while the other student uses a different register. Try to understand each other. Is it frustrating? Next, rewrite the scene or dialogue that the teacher gave you to make it appropriate. For instance, SpongeBob episode should not be in static register. This lesson is about staying focused on one topic. Teacher, turn lights off. Shine spotlight on something in the room. Ask one student to look at the spot, then look back at you and describe what they saw. Repeat. The third time this is done, gradually move the spotlight when the student is describing what they saw to you. Ask the students to re-look. They'll notice that you have moved the spotlight. Ask the student to look again, and then concentrate, then turn back to you and describe what they saw. Again, move the spotlight during their description. Explain that this is similar to not focusing their writing on one topic. Students, think about your family for a moment. Parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, and so on. Is there someone with whom you share a special interest, or someone who's passed on to you his or her love for an activity? To help you plan your writing, list 3 details that relate to the person and your shared interest. Is every item a detail about your family member and what he or she has shared with you? If your spotlight has wandered from the topic, cross out any details that aren't connected to your main idea. Compose a 5-paragraph paper with intro, body, and conclusion. This lesson is needed to get students in the habit of creating fluid sentences. It also handsomely illustrates sentence fluency. Lesson sample. Teacher, begin by talking normally. For me, this doesn't mean holding back any Texas accent or regional verbiage. Explain what vernacular is and introduce it as their very first vocabulary word. Demonstrate how to use Frayer models. Review the sentence cheat sheet, which reviews simple, compound, and complex sentences. Give additional vocabulary. Students, complete one Frayer model and sentence cheat sheet for each vocabulary word. This lesson teaches students an easy way to remember how to write great beginnings and equally fantastic endings for their composition. Lesson sample. Teacher, read the beginning paragraph of several books and magazines. Ask the students if the intros got their attention, why or why not. Go over the mnemonics, sacred and equals. Sacred stands for setting, action, character, reflection, event, and dialogue. Equals stands for expectations, quote, unique memory, ask a question, lesson learned about yourself or someone else, and surprise or summarize. Students, compose an opening paragraph for each element of sacred and compose a closing paragraph for each element of equals. Share with your group, then with the class. Discuss which was easier. This lesson is a group project and could quite possibly run longer than 1 week. Lesson sample. Teacher, ask students to think about their daily grind as 7th graders. Recount their schedule, their comings and goings, their classes, etc. Explain that they are about to create a multimedia documentary and exercise some personification with shoes. This will be a teacher-guided student project. Groups are required. Final products will be viewed in class, and the best of the best will be placed on the school's website. All presentations should be considered for their e-portfolios. Students, what if your shoes could talk? What would they say? Think about where they've been, what they've seen, heard, and experienced. As this is a group project, you may want to consider your shoes collectively or individually. It's up to you and your group. Brainstorm your story, then storyboard it. You may use digital cameras and mobile devices to create the required pieces. Stills, video, and audio are required. Suggested applications are MS PowerPoint, Google Docs, Animoto, Audacity. However, you are free to use whatever you're most comfortable with. Have fun with this and be very creative. Lesson sample. Teacher, remind students about the creation of a first 6 weeks portfolio. This first 6 weeks portfolio will be graded for participation only this time and serves as an assessment tool for the students. They can literally see their progress, reflect on it, and present it. Students, from your working folder, review all returned assignments and decide which ones best represent you in this classroom. Give this serious consideration. You do not have to only include high-scoring assignments. The low-scoring assignments may show initial understanding while the higher scores show progression or mastery. After you have completed the assignments for your portfolio, scan all pieces so that an e-portfolio may be created. For this unit, I've incorporated John Keller's ARCS motivational model. Keller's ARCS appealed to me more than any other model because it places such a premium on learner motivation. Therefore, my job will be to make the required mundane inspirational and relevant for my students. We will be the first class to implement portfolios in the middle school, and I've obtained permission to make them electronic as well. This is where the rest of the ARCS model comes into play. As students witness their progression, their confidence grows. And as confidence grows, the quality and richness of their efforts become evident, stimulating satisfaction.